Using other people is both an asset and a detriment. Let's call them the crew. If you're making your user-generated video and the cameraman, I'll call it cameraman, although I mean camera person, looks away at a critical moment when the person is saying something to you, that cameraman has affected your scene negatively. If the sound man with a boom mic, getting the ambient, wonderful sound that cannot be gotten with a lavalier, you're in a live environment, turns his head away at the moment when the person is about to cry, they've wrecked your scene. If you have on your crew a young and beautiful woman, and you're shooting a bunch of men, I can't say your scene's been wrecked, but it's been changed by that woman, because everybody will notice. If you are shooting women, and you're a bunch of handsome young guys, she will be different. If my accent is New York, as it is, and I'm in the fields of Kansas, they'll notice. I'll change the scene. If I am a person whose face you can't talk to, you won't say the same things. If I'm young, as a camera person or a director or an interviewer, and the speaker is old, he's going to talk to a young person. Everything affects that environment. So, when I hire my others to be with me, or when I get hired, the nature of that environment is critical, and I cast the talent. My sound man cares. My cameraman's no dummy. If there's females on the set and I'm doing males, dress down. Don't make yourself a scene. If there's males, don't dress up, unless you want it to be that way. If you want a dialogue, you need people who interrupt each other. That's a certain cultural thing. Some people are very offended when you interrupt them. Other people, that's the nature of the thing. You're with them on the road, on the train in San Francisco. You're riding on the BART. What I'm suggesting to your audience and to you is that casting your crew, from writer to editor to camera person, sound person, lighting person, assistant, partner, is as important as who's in front of the camera. And when you put those two things together, the crew melds like a wonderfully oiled machine. I have an example. I shot a film on an aircraft carrier called Second Home. And to watch those guys on the deck of that carrier land and take off those airplanes is a ballet, a circus, incredibly well done. People die when there are mistakes. I felt my crew was like that. I could depend on them. When I had multi-camera crews, shooting the Olympics, for example, I stated what I wanted, but my guys knew I'm going to take what Hoffman said, add my own elements into it to create something better than he would have, and each of them did. There's a slow motion scene when all of the athletes are getting their flags up, ready to enter the main stadium for the opening ceremonies. And the cameraman slowed it down in the camera. That's not the same thing as doing it in the editing room. It doesn't look quite the same. He slowed it to really slow, and these eyes go up, and these flags go up, and the people get this sense of pride. Gorgeous. I knew that guy. He was that kind of a cameraman. Bob Elfstrom, one of the great documentary cameramen. In a film I did on the story of Jimmy Doolittle, I knew Doolittle somewhat at this point, not as well as I would later on in the movie, and I had 4 camera people at an event where he was giving his last public speech. And during the speech, the group that had brought him fly a small airplane that was from his early era called a Jenny over his head. The cameraman gets just in the right position for that action in advance. There's only one right position. There aren't 5, where you can sort of pan up to that plane and pan down and zoom into Jimmy's eyes. That moment is great, only because the camera person knew Hoffman's going to want this action, this moment, not as a cut, but as a move. Another example. There are 4 people in a conversation and 1 camera. If the camera's on a tripod, he's almost always messed up. It's a handheld environment in which, where am I exactly? Am I filming all four? If I go in on that guy, does that guy talk? Uh-oh, do I have to zoom over there? It's an unbelievably difficult camera experience. The great camera people have two things that make them greater than others. One is they seem to sense what's going to happen. The camera person is holding the camera, it's connected to that eye. What is the other eye doing? The other eye is watching that environment. I'm over here right now, but that woman is upset. I think I'm going to zoom back slowly and go in on her, even though she's not speaking. I can feel it. And the number of times that those scenes turn out just right. What pulled you from that speaker to that woman who wasn't speaking is the essence of a great cameraman. He's listening. He's aware of the environment. And he's ahead of the action. Ahead of it. That's one great characteristic. The other is that he engages in the environment. He's not back from it, but he's in it, particularly when there's action involved. There's so many of these current YouTube kind of videos. There's things happening. You're in the environment as the cameraman. You're part of it. I had a wonderful experience when I was a young filmmaker. I did a film called Nashville Sound, which is a feature film. You can still buy it on the web. And in it, I'm on the stage at the Grand Ole Opry. I'm the only cameraman on the stage. There are three guys shooting. One guy's in the house on a tripod. The other guy is on the side of the stage, handheld. His job was to pick up the tight shot of each performer. So he's the tight shot, then you have the wide shot, and I'm the handheld guy. I'm moving. And I'd never been at the Grand Ole Opry before. And all of a sudden, a group of clog dancers come out, real top clog dancers. The time is 1970. It was also the place where Dolly Parton was introduced by Bill Anderson, I think, and I filmed it. You got to see the scene of Dolly Parton and what happens to the audience when Dolly Parton, age 22 or something, comes out. It's unbelievable to watch. So I started dancing with these dancers. And the radio guy says, hey, look at that cameraman. He's right there dancing right in with them. Well, for me, that was a critical moment. If I didn't engage, pan down to the feet, dance around with the clog dancers, I didn't even know that it was being filmed by anybody other than us. I had never been at the Grand Ole Opry. It turns out to be a great scene. So that's the risk that the cameraman takes. I was a very good cameraman. Very good. But the best were much better than me.